As we continue rolling, we're going to talk with Jason Dunn here in just a little bit. Chief Concern podcast he hosts along with Eric Warfield. That is part of the Believe Podcast Network. So we'll talk with him, former Chief, tight end, and then into coaching as well at the collegiate ranks, which is sort of an interest as, you know, kind of want to pick his brain, not only about the Chiefs, but being a player on the name, image, likeness side of it, and also a coach on the name, image, likeness side of college athletics right now. Right now, let's talk with Jason Dunn, former Kansas City Chief, joining us now, host of the Chief Concern podcast with Eric Warfield, part of the Believe Podcast Network, joining us here in the zone. Jason, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing wonderful this afternoon. How about yourself?
I am doing just fine. I'm interested in, you know, the podcast side of it for you, that being on the playing side for so long and even coaching side, that now on the analyst side, the breaking down from a former player and what you're seeing and just topics and discussion and opinion. What's it been like on this side of the aisle?
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if I'm that much on that side of the aisle. Maybe in your realm as much, but I tell you what, I love it. I just absolutely love it. I'm a talker anyway, so I just kind of feel I just get out there and I just, you know, do what I usually do. You know, just having a conversation. Usually it's like guys in the locker room, you know, sitting down and having a nice little chat. So it's been fun. It's been fun. It really has. So I've been enjoying it. Eric's was a great teammate. He's a great co-host with me. Marcus does a tremendous job on it as well. So it's been a really, really fun ride right now.
How do you find the co-host of Eric? I would have guessed that maybe it would have been somebody on the offensive side that you would have found yourself co-hosting with, or did you want that defensive perspective?
Yeah, you know what? It helps with the defense, right? Because you just have to have opposing views. And so, you know, having, I think, a more wider range of topics to cover, where he may be a little bit more specialized in the defensive side of things and the schemes and whatnot, helps out tremendously. And so offense, I could give that perspective. And, of course, it's always been a thing with, you know, guys, receivers, and maybe a DB just kind of going at it anyway.
That's
so
true.
I think it kind of works.
What are you up to besides the podcast right now?
So I'm just kind of up and down the road. You know, I have been coaching. So when I retired, I got into coaching. Coached in high school for about 4 years. Did college down at Kentucky State for 4 years. Coached my son, which was a joy, for a couple of years. And now I'm doing the podcast, of course, but also too my foundation I started out in Kansas City, Dunn for Kids. I'm kind of getting it out here more in the state of Kentucky. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm trying to at least, you know, invoke some knowledge, some information to some of these younger men and women coming up in sports and in school. So we're just covering a wide range of academics, you know, character, you know, sports-wise, just having the mindset and the mentality. It's all about just what do we need to do to help be successful. And if I can give you that information to do that, that's what I'm here to do.
Whereabouts are you? I spent 10 years in Louisville. I moved back here a couple of years ago. Had grown up here in Kansas City, working with 810, but then moved to Louisville for 10 years and now back here. Where are you living in Kentucky?
So I'm here in Lexington. So
okay, cool.
Just, you know, University of Kentucky is that.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on, you said coaching as well. With what came down a couple of days ago with name, image, likeness, and really yesterday when everything started, what's your view and perspective from, you know, you played at EKU and maybe there might have been some, you know, sponsorship opportunities in a smaller, you know, college town versus then also the coaching side, that you've got players that are maybe getting sponsorships or, you know, DMs are open and people may be reaching out to them, where so much of it has been sort of enclosed, that you've got this force field around that nobody can get to the players because it's against the NCAA rules. Now it's sort of open from that standpoint. What would that be like? What's your view on what the NCAA has allowed to have happen now on the player and also the coaching side?
You know what? I've said this before. I said I think this should have been done a long time ago, and it was absolutely something that's going to be beneficial for the players, where now they have the chance to actually earn some money, get some income for being in sports. And just on the player side of it, I was in a situation in college where, when you're not able to work and, you had to take care of family and every other people around you, and you're told, hey, you know what, you can't earn a paycheck because of the NCAA rules. And so now it's just going to do a lot for kids that may be in situations where they may have to help out at home, or, just with their own selves, as far as like, earning scholarships or having, extra money in their pocket. So this is beneficial. I can just absolutely tell you, this is going to be a game changer, for all the amateurism, I guess, of, athletics pretty much. Now, from a coach's standpoint, it's really interesting because when I was at Kentucky State, which is a Division II school, I just seen a lot of kids that were struggling. And a lot of it was, hey, coach, I need money. I can't eat. And so they're in a different category because now you don't really have like the support of a Division I program, right? Where you just kind of get all the things that, chefs, at Florida State and, massage, masseuses and that, it's a totally different field. And so when you see kids struggle, they just, regular college kid who's wearing, the same, clothes, or, you see the struggle that they have and what's going on back home, just giving them the ability, to be able to put money in their pocket, man, is a great thing. And as a coach, seeing that, because sometimes when you hear kids, man, it's heartbreaking. And it was just breaking my heart, kids that would come up. And as much as I'm like, look, we got to do something to kind of help this kid out. Well, it was always like, well, it's against NCAA rules. It's a violation of, the code. And to me, it just really didn't make any sense. And so I'm just really encouraged, to have the conversation done and this being passed. And hopefully it extends now where you do have this to, and I brought this point up on the podcast, is that maybe some kids will get more money than others, right? So that will probably become an issue because maybe a kid's making, I don't know, $50,000 when other kids may be making $500. So maybe there's something that you could tailor where kids, some of the money is potted a little bit, and I don't know if it's more on individual saying like, hey, you know what, maybe I get some of my proceeds to some of, the players and whatnot, or maybe even, creating a fund for the college in itself to kind of do that. But like I said before, I think this, without a doubt, is going to enrich kids' lives, but also, too, it starts a conversation about, let's just say, the world of basketball, where kids are not doing just one and done because they feel like, hey, you know what, I'm not making money in college. Let me go ahead and jump up here to the pros so I can put my family in a better situation than what it's been.
No, it's an interesting point on that, Stan, that side of it as well, that, if there's even a possibility of, having some sort of an earning potential, you aren't necessarily forced to say it's just time for me to go and make some money, no matter what it is, even if it's in Europe or the G League, whatever it might be. Like, you might be able to make more money in college doing endorsements and playing there than you might get in the G League. Like, there's that opportunity, and you could stay in college and do those things as well. Visiting with Jason Dunn. You mentioned you coached at Kentucky State. So when I moved there, I had no idea about Kentucky State, right? And so I had been in the area for like a couple of months, and I met somebody that said they played at K-State. And being from here, I was like, oh, no bleep? I was like, yeah, dude, I'm from Kansas City. And he was like, yeah, what's your point? I'm like, no, I mean, you went to K-State. I'm from KC. Like, I got a lot of buddies who went to K-State. Like, when did you play there? And he was like, I played. So it wasn't until like 4 or 5 minutes in this conversation that I realized he was talking about Kentucky State, that people called it K-State around there. So I felt pretty dumb. I'm like, oh, well, I guess you didn't go to that. Never mind. It doesn't matter that where I'm from and guys I know. You wouldn't know them. It would be odd if you knew people living in Manhattan there. Jason Dunn of the Believe Podcast Network. He hosts Chiefs Concern podcast with Eric Warfield. How much do you watch and view and maybe even root for the Chiefs and what's going on with the success they've had over the last few years?
Being in this market here, it's kind of funny because you didn't really get a lot of Chiefs news, but now everything is pretty much, nationalized. I love it. And, of course, I watch the games. And, some of the stuff that y'all get locally, I just don't get, and I'm not really, privy to the information, or at least I don't go searching for it as much. And so usually, of course, you get your notifications, if news comes in, that's kind of like what I keep up with. But I, also talk to guys in the area, kind of every once in a while, that knows, a little bit about what's going on. So that's, I'm just a fan through and through. I'm a Chiefs guy that, just loves the team, loves the town. Those guys, man, have been doing just incredible work out there. It's just been really encouraging just to see the success that they've had and just had for the city. And so it'd be hard not to keep up with them as much as possible. So every chance I get to sing their praises, that's what I'm here to do. So it's challenging for the respect of what I'm here in Lexington, but when I get out there, it's all Chiefs. It's all Chiefs.
Former Chief Jason Dunn, tight end. You were viewed as the blocking tight end to Tony Gonzalez's passing mismatch on the Chiefs offense, and one of the better offenses we've seen come through here in Kansas City, especially pre-Patrick Mahomes. But what do you make of what you've seen from the tight end position? I mean, Tony Gonzalez was so good and was such a trailblazer. And then Antonio Gates comes along, but now we're seeing, Kelsey and Kittle and Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts now with the Falcons. Like, we're seeing all these different guys. What do you make of the evolution of that tight end position to what it is now?
I think it's great. I mean, you could almost see it back then, kind of where it was going. I look at it that sometimes, the blocking of a tight end is rare these days. I mean, it's scarcity in that position of doing the things like I used to do, just because they don't quite demand that anymore from the tight ends. But I'm just looking at what Kelsey and those guys have been doing out there, man. It's just tremendous work. Everybody still wants to they're a glorified wide receiver. I'm like, no, they're tight ends. They're tight ends because they do it all. And that's been kind of the argument because, you got a guy who's going out here and he's running routes, catching, 100 balls, but also too, he's making blocks, for the wide, for the running back. It needs just as much as the linemen do, for as far as protection, the blocking scheme. But these guys, man, are young guys who come in, man, very athletic, with the emergence of Kyle Pitts, of course. And now, of course, Noah, who's coming from Duke University. Yeah. I mean, these guys are coming in, man. They are absolutely, positively great athletes. And so I've just been really kind of shocked just to see an evolution for what it is, being that many. So I think that's what it is. When you have trendsetters like Tony, who's come in, who was catching, 80, 90 balls, a year, but yet you still see him getting over like 1,800 yards and, all these touchdowns. And these guys now, catching 100, man, it's just been really a blast watching them, do what they do.
Jason Dunn is our guest. Last one for you. I know you got to go, but wanted to at least get your thoughts real quick. The Dallas Cowboys were just announced that they are going to be featured on Hard Knocks. You were a part of the Chiefs when they were on Hard Knocks. We had a couple of texters early in the show when we were talking about that, had brought up, and I had forgotten about it, that early on in Hard Knocks season that you might have been profiled and not being excited about on the second floor, I guess.
Yes.
What was it like being a player when Hard Knocks is there around a team?
Oh man, to me, I really didn't like it at all. I was really discouraged just for the simple fact, it was really intrusive. In our meeting rooms, cameras in your face all the time. And hearing that the Cowboys going to do it, I'm just laughing. I mean, they've had enough controversy the past couple of years, dealing with Dak and that whole deal, and them trying to get where they want to get. I just think it's just absolutely detriment to a team. Having Hard Knocks, and that's just my opinion. Now, what I could see that the effects of it was everybody wanted to become Hollywood. Everybody wanted to be that guy on the camera, and I just think, man, it's just it's just funny that you said that. But
you see guys change their personality a little bit when the camera's around.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you might as well go ahead and put them in the makeup chair, get them ready, and hit action. Because that's pretty much what it was, and it was just ridiculous to me.
Wow.
It's a novel thing to do as a approach, but I really do believe that, and that's, to me, it was like our worst season because it was just such a distraction, and guys get into it because you're trying to play to the camera as opposed to doing the work that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Jason Dunn, host of the Chief Concern podcast with Eric Warfield, part of the Believe Podcast Network, former Chief and a fan favorite as well. Jason, really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Continued success with the podcast as well and the Dunn for Kids Foundation as well. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. There's Jason Dunn. Again, Chief Concern podcast. You can go check that out. He and Eric Warfield host that podcast together. So that offense-defense perspective that's there and talking about the NFL. And an interesting point that living where he is, that there's not a whole lot of news that comes in with the Chiefs except for the last few years. Now he gets all types of information on the Chiefs now and able to be more of a fan there instead of having to specifically say, I'm going to go here and seek out the information. Almost the information is there readily available nationally because the Chiefs are such a national draw and a team that gets clicks. Patrick Mahomes gets clicks. Chiefs get clicks right now. So if you're talking about them, people are going to be reading and watching and listening. That's for sure. We'll take a timeout.